So he needs to know how to facilitate the right teachers,
Sure.
And that's the job. That is the job.
That's the job. That's the job itself. And who else would you say? I mean, in terms of like people that we might know, famous people. I mean, who would you say would have been one of your role models or?
Well, growing up, I know there was this guy from Jordan, Ibrahim. His name was actually Mufti Ibrahim. He was not actually a Mufti, but his name was Mufti Ibrahim. He introduced me to writers. This was the guy who made me fall in love with the books.
Okay.
And there are so many famous writers.
People are actually they're asking this question because they're I'm here. I need something. I need your attention, whatever that may be. Time. I just a little bit of advice or whatever it may be. But yeah.
No, I'll tell you. Let's just not divorce common sense when you're talking about any kind of problems. And the common sense thing is that unless there is a political establishment of the community, then any kind of social problem is national. You're asking for it.
Yeah, you are.
So all the masjids in the planet, wherever they are, they're really good. One story, which is a moral application of Islam on the individual.
Yeah,
and that's a job well done.
Yeah.
They have the literature. They have examples as well. The masjid imams are doing really good. They're structuring their personal lives. They're setting good examples. Not even 1% of them get caught because they're not into it, in doing any kind of ill in the society. That means, the masjid does purify or whatever responsibility they gives to the individual. But it's not working as a community. The people who go pray Jummah do not go to the same masjid in praying Asr.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the failure of the masjid right there. That means there's something not working. So unless we have a structure, which is very clear, I'm going to give you the solution right there. Every masjid should be connected globally, at least in the West. At least in the West. And not just talking about the school of thought.
Yeah. That's another fact.
Yeah, I'm talking about, let's just call a masjid a parliament house for just this session.
Okay.
All of a sudden, the imam's role becomes pivotal in the neighborhood. Literally, he has to act like the local councillor, running the council in Glasgow. We have councils here, right?
Yeah.
So, he literally has to make the rulings as in those micro decisions as well. And he has to pick out all those competent people.
Into consideration.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this masjid was supposed to act like a tiny little parliament with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses, not just the 2 houses, which the English gave us. So that many kids would be involved as teenagers, and the responsibility should have been given by the masjid imam to the kids that you're going to be intervening in these sort of matters. It's not just volunteer mission; it's Islamic missions for the neighborhood. How hard is this to achieve? It can be done on literally weekly basis, because all the neighborhood has to attend the Friday prayer anyway. It can become a town hall. And we never treat Masjid Jummah, the Friday prayer, as a town hall.
No.
We just have this little, written sermon. We just have to recycle it every single time. And everyone knows that everybody comes to the Friday prayer just to get out of this, masjid. As soon as the masjid, the prayer ends, everyone runs because there's no attraction there. This is where the solution is. Masjid has the solution. That's why, last year I started the campaign that the masjid has fallen. Literally. That's the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
Our kids are going to have to resurrect the masjid. And if they're not going to do that, someone else will. And they're not going to be calling it masjid.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have any Islam in there. They're going to have the same instruments. It will be on a neighborhood level. It will be on a teenage level. They will be, empowering our teenagers. And naturally, our teenagers are going to run towards it. It's like the Pied Piper thing. Whoever takes over the first mover advantage.
Yeah.
So we might as well just do it right now.
Yeah, we need to get our house in order very much.
Our house in order. It's literally, both houses in order.
Both houses in order, yeah, true. Something you said at the start, I wanted to pick up on, Salbai, was about your idea of fixing or looking things at globally, then kind of working at the local level.
Yeah, if you do not have a global philosophy, you're gonna have a local disorder of the psychology.
Okay.
That's what I call it. If you're not globally exposed.
If you can think of that a bit more, expand that for us.
Yeah, if I do not know what's going on in the bigger discussion, the university campuses in America, I won't be able to make any kind of social movement in Pakistan. You know what I'm saying? Because I know where it comes from. It's basic psychology. That, whoever is building the primary, we are under the prevalent thought of somebody. And that's not a Muslim thought. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that most of the Muslims are under a Muslim thought. Because the masjid is not creating thought leaders. We are actually literally designed to not think. Because our last 700 years training is on fiqh. Fiqh is lawyership. Lawyers are trained not to think. But Quran doesn't just have fiqh. It has hikmah.
Yeah.
It has the thought. All of our Sahabas were thought leaders. Like literally all of them. You can't even find an exception that, this guy was just, saying, since Ali bin Abi Talib said that, I'm going to follow it. No, Sahabis didn't think like this. But we are trained to say, because I was trained by Shafi'is. Yeah. So since Imam Shafi'i said that, but my teacher was like, unless you can prove Shafi'i is right, you cannot follow him.
Yeah.
That's the exact reverse cycle. Yeah. So lawyers are not going to do thought leadership. And as Muslims, we're trained to be lawyers. And so much so that we can actually, any lawyer would love to take up a case, right? Yeah. So we're taking up cases against Muslims. You know what I'm saying? And most of those cases, even if we win those cases, we're going to lose as a nation.
Yeah.
So somebody else has been winning this case, which is not a Muslim, on how to think, what to think about, where is progress, where should we take the next 100 years. And those were never Muslims in the last 600-700 years. Because masjid is not making us think. And even if they were making us think, we were thinking about how more of a Muslim I am than my next door neighbor who is a Muslim, because he's just happens to be a Salafi or a Shia or a Sunni. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand what I'm saying. We have confined ourselves into little clusters as lawyers who are always trying to prove how right we are in our belief system. And there is not even a single Muslim who's even thinking about what is the biggest problem on the globe and how to solve it. And where is the force to construct that kind of a solution. Muslims are not thinking on those lines. And mind you, non-Muslims are. Okay, and I don't blame our kids to be attracted towards, all of those schools which are talking about the bigger problems.
True. And from that, one of the other things, again, about influence and about, role models and things. One of the things that I'm sure it's quite current, is about this whole idea of, identity, knowing who you are. And a lot of young people get confused with that idea because of, again, at home it's a certain culture and tradition. In schools, a different culture and tradition, where somewhere else it's something else. Or perhaps, when they're watching things on social media, influenced by people like, Andrew Tate or people like that, who's now Muslim, it's very confusing, all these things, very confusing. What advice would you give to young people when it comes to these kind of things of where knowing your identity, knowing who you are?
See, I think Quran actually gives a spectrum of emotional structures so that parents can pick up whichever is relevant at the time or the area. So just saying La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, or, making him believe that there is one God and the last Prophet ﷺ is our story. That's not going to cut it for the current day Muslim. People like Andrew Tate or whoever is representing whatever he's representing, even if it's not in the name of Islam, or in this case, he's a Muslim in the name of Islam, becomes attractive because it does call for the definition of the identity, re-identifying themselves. Yeah. And Quran actually says, لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ. That should have been the identity of the current day Muslim because somebody else played that game and they won it really well. لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ is the American dream.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not just an individual American dream, it is an American imperial dream as well. It was the Victorian dream as well. You know what I'm saying? So that should have been the Muslim identity. And that's so attractive that you can fit a million billion annuities there, and still they wouldn't suffice. For liyuzhira ala dini kulli. So we need to have that sort of a power, and for that kind of power, we need to have that kind of responsibility given to a Muslim individual. And first of all, how is he going to get that power? He's going to have that kind of competence, that kind of IQ, that kind of intellectual acumen. And Muslims don't even harbor that. By the way, our intellectual Muslims are borrowing that intellect from non-Muslims right now.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And hats off to those non-Muslims, because they are still working on that acumen, that raw human acumen that we as human Muslims were never barred or banned from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We had the Quran, and we could have set the precedents, but we followed precedents. Okay, well, but somebody's going to set it, and human beings are designed to follow this precedence. So power has to be within the Muslim mind. Then it's going to come into the Muslim clusters, and then those clusters are going to retain or control that or maintain that power. And since we didn't, no, they're doing it. So I can keep talking about the Second World War and the post-war aftermath, which we are naturally suffering from, and we can talk about it, but that's a symptom of a problem. The solution lies inside how a father is treating the son. That's it. If enough fathers would know what I'm talking about, they would put those standards of competence and keep failing their kids until their kids really claw themselves up on those ladders and become that competent. And you pick out an intellectual right now from any part of the world. He's going to be influenced by a non-Muslim scholar right now. This is the irony. Yeah. What kind of wings was he born with? Nothing. There were standards, and the powerful set the standards, and the people mimic those powerful people who represents knowledge or the standards of knowledge. So I don't want to make keep reiterating or regurgitating the same point. I hope every mother knows what I'm talking about, but we as human beings, let alone Muslim or any believer, we need our kids competent. I mean, I'm not saying anything which mommies and daddies shouldn't be drooling over right now. That I need the most powerful son or daughter in terms of intellectual acumen. Why are we not creating or setting the precedence of intellect right now? And if Muslims can do that, everyone's going to be running towards the Quran. And we keep complaining about, we don't have enough adherence to our own book, and that's why non-Muslims are repulsed from our book, because we don't adhere to the Quran. Well, no one's going to adhere to any book unless that book is functioning as the primary power or source of power for the bigger part of the community. We are not in power, no matter where we are, from east to west, from Australia to Alaska. Muslims are always, or wherever you see, in the last 300-400 years, the weakest community is going to be Muslims. So why would anyone adhere to the Quran?
True.
I don't blame them for not adhering to the Quran, because we've changed, we've restructured ourselves into isolated individuals who are going to look good in terms of character, but we'll not really use any bits of that character when it comes down to exerting it for liyuzhira ala dini kulli.
And in regards to, again, upbringing, I mean, one of the golden rules that some people that you hear a lot about is the saying of Ali about the 7 years of nurturing and loving, 7 years of discipline, and then his final 7 years of friendship, befriending your child. Have you seen? I mean,
perfect psychology.
Perfect psychology.
Yeah. I mean, the current day psychology now says it right, literally.
Yeah.
So it's. But see, before the 777, you need to set the purpose straight.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's one, and then 777. Just get one purpose straight. Yeah. What do you see when the whole 777 is going to be achieved? Once you have that 21st year of your best friend who's living your dream as, which you have as a father, your son is actually, your daughter is through that course, what is he achieving? And why? That's what I want the parents to come together and first of all lock it down that unless we set the the prism straight, this could be the biggest problem as well, because that creates the perfect copy of whoever the father is.
Yeah.
And we do not need copies of our this sort of philosophy that we got. We need to keep in mind that we need kids who are going to challenge it. And I'm telling you this right now. I'm not talking in abstractism, or I'm just talking about little specifics. You need to tell the kids that Muslims should be calling the shots on every single public and private matters of the human beings. If they cannot do that in their own lands, no one's going to start to believe them or take their word in their lands. So we need a working model, and that working model ideally should have come from a Muslim place. But I'm telling you this right now, the Western Muslims can slipstream.
Yeah.
And if they know how to slipstream from their own culture, they can actually use the Quran. So I still have hope. Of course, they're going to both go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But, kids in Glasgow naturally, and I've tested it yesterday, kids in Glasgow are way over the curve compared to any Pakistani is living in lower Islamabad. So that's the gift. Use it. But you know what? More intelligent the child is, the more problems you're going to have if you're not well set in your philosophy. Dumb children are not going to challenge your philosophy. Intelligent kids are, and that's their job. If they cannot challenge or conquer his own father, how are they going to conquer Scotland?
I think they should be encouraged to, in fact, do it more. So. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Time is getting the better for us. Just a couple of more questions. Now, just on the Quran and Hadith, I mean, your favourite surah of Quran and why?
Oh, I can't. Oh my God, there's so much to play with there. It's about the time.
Okay.
It's about the problem.
Okay.
If you're suffering from a bigger problem, you'll see which surah is going to become your weapon, or whatever time that you're in right now. In terms of your emotional.
Let me ask you that. What is the surah then that gives you, you're having a bad day?
Oh, no, I'll tell you.
You're having a bad day and you want something.
I live in Pakistan.
You want that verse or that surah.
I live in Pakistan.
Yeah.
You have a bad day just about every other. So surah is too big of a word for a Muslim because there's so much in every surah. But I know that one ayah keeps me going, which is Hal Jaza'ul Ihsani illa Ihsan. This keeps me going at the worst of the worst days, the worst of the worst moments. This is the fuel that is going to pick you. This I can raise a dead man. Hal Jaza'ul Ihsani illa Ihsan. That, I mean, it's just self-explanatory. I hope everybody. I mean, I'm going to start crying if I explain this. This is the way Allah sees the standards of how a human being should be looking at anything, especially other human beings. The deed that is done upon you. It's like, oh my God. It's can there be any other reward for an ihsan than the ihsan that was done on you? I mean, it's like. My whole life philosophy, pivots around this one ayah. And whenever I read any kind of philosophers, be it Hume or Descartes or, I just cannot see how else to ground myself as to, the biggest anchor, the mightiest of those anchors becomes this ayah. I mean, I'm just, I'm still feeling so bad by just picking one ayah.
Yeah.
Because I'm leaving so much but this is the one that just I just can't get this out of my heart and head. Any given second you're gonna take an MRI, this ayah is gonna be like top of the list. There's gonna be so much more, but this ayah is gonna be like.
And amongst the companions of the Ashab al-Rasul.
Oh, it's a journey. Awesome question. It's a journey.
Who's your favorite?
And why? Okay, I'll tell you. The companions, and mommies should listen to this, okay? Because the way you're going to structure that archetype, that caricature of the Sahabi, that's where your child's whole life journey, at least for decades. Because, I plotted one day a few years ago of what kind of influence I had and what kind of life aspirations I was generating, because this is a source of energy. And I found out that it was one companion that was causing that sort of, movement inside me. So I started with just like any other child with Umar al-Khattab. Any boy who reasoned up about Umar al-Khattab. By the way, I was trained in Umar al-Khattab. It was like, a whole series of, projects and tasks and lectures. And this is where my Yemeni teacher comes in. This guy was all about Umar al-Khattab. So I started off with Umar al-Khattab, and then I went into Salman Farsi. Because somehow I kind of, taught, every child. I am Salman Farsi because I'm going to teacher to teacher to teacher. Yeah. And then I went into Abu Dhar Ghafari.
Okay.
In the later part, because I was going through a lot. At that point, I remember, because, you reminisce.
Yeah.
And I was reminiscing. So I was thinking this is what's going on, and I still believe that there's still a lot more of Abu Dhar Ghafari's, element, that influence I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That influence had a lot more element, and just keeps lighting the fire. But then I went into Saad bin Muaz. That as soon as I went into youth, I was speaking about, describing Saad bin Muaz, the standard that Saad bin Muaz set, so much so that Prophet ﷺ became expressive about putting him as a benchmark. And Sahabas were like, how can we achieve this benchmark? I can quote you some hadith where Prophet ﷺ is talking about, if, for example, the grave is going to grab you and is going to squeeze any and every human being that's going to enter the grave, even if it is Saad bin Muaz. I mean, it's like when the Prophet ﷺ benchmarks you as a name, it's like, what else can you possibly achieve in this universe? Look at the resume of this guy. And then there was this caravan that just came in with the cloth, and everyone was running about. The cloth was so fine that even the Prophet ﷺ, praised it. And then when he held the cloth, he said, "This is the finest cloth I've ever," because he was a merchant himself. So he said, "This is the finest cloth I've ever held." But you know what? This is not even compared to a handkerchief, which Saad bin Muaz is holding right now. So when you read this, plus I'm not talking about Saad bin Muaz because of these 2, 3, 4 ahadith, but whatever the journey that he took. A 9-year-old Muslim, which means 9 years ago, he was not even a Muslim. In the 9 years, he achieved whatever he achieved, and then came Ali bin Abi Talib, and in my age, I think Ali bin Abi Talib stands tall now. I've gone through that transition, knowledge and courage, the epitome of knowledge, the epitome of loyalty to the Prophet ﷺ, the brother, I mean, you can't replace this hadith with anything. Everything else with all the Sahabis got can combine, cumulatively cannot hold the weight of, you are my brother here and you are my brother there. What else can you actually ask for? Ali, you are my brother here in this world, and you are my brother in the hereafter. What else do you want? I mean, it just tops it up. Any Sahabi would give his life for this hadith, So Ali bin Abi Talib is the current, nuclear reactor sitting inside me right now. The last few years. So from Umar al-Khattab to Salman Farsi to Abu Dhar Ghafari to Ali bin Abi Talib. This has been like my visible journey, because there's so many questions that a boy would be thinking, why just these 4? I mean, these were teachers.
Yeah.
Okay. These are the teachers.
Right. Absolutely, yeah. For sure.
Plus the worldview actually calls for a Sahabi. That's the best part about Sahabi is that, if you have him defined really well, the current worldview that you have, you can get a solution out of this one, because we are imitating, we're mimicking the character of that hero that we ever make as boys and girls.
Sure. And what final advice would you give to parents? I mean, as you said in your introduction, the West, the East. Alhamdulillah, you're global that way. What advice would you give to families here in the West, particularly?
Not just the West, but the West can do it really well.
The West can do well. That positives and negatives. In terms of positives, what are they good at? What are they doing that they should do more of?
Good
and
question.
What's the negative that they need to kind of work on? What would you say would be?
Well, a Western parent, a father or a mother. Okay, I'm just going to talk about a parent because, just to get a general answer. First, get the standards right. Okay, the standards of Islam right. A standard means, that element that you're actually trying to train or amplify inside the minds of your children has to have a solution to the problem that child is going to go through. Okay, so the standards of Pakistan, India, or wherever you came from, or Morocco, or Tunisia, or wherever, the kind of Islam that actually lives or brews in the minds of scholars there, that's relevant for those areas, and they are doing it by design. That worldview works, but in Glasgow, your kids are not going to be able to relate to those sort of spikes in the importance. There is a spike in the importance of what is the element of Islam that I really must adhere to. Never give up on that. And it's not just about not drinking or no adultery or no fornication or no girls or this. This is basic. I'm talking about raising the bar, standards. So thought leadership, political acumen, sense of community. Okay, sense of community can only be given to a Western Muslim. We cannot even get that sense of community in Pakistan or Morocco because we're born inside a community. We're going to take it for granted. Here, this child is going to understand the power of a community because he's going to actually need that power. In Pakistan, I don't need the power of a community. I am in the community. I have problems from coming from the community. In Glasgow, I'm not going to get problems coming from Muslim. I'm going to be getting problems from everybody. And a Muslim's first job should be as a mother, raise him as a giver. Because if he's going to be the first giver, everyone's going to become a giver. Okay, givers produce givers.
Yeah.
We start thinking as a minority, and every minority thinks like that. If I'm raising my son or daughter as a giver, people are going to misuse it and take advantage of it. No, they're not. The best thing about the giver is he is going to be producing givers because people are going to fall in love with him. We all love the givers. They never, created those selfish, elements. Actually, on the contrary, they actually inspired us to become givers. I'm talking about anybody, Muslim or non-Muslim. So if you can actually do that for the first 10, 15 years of your son or daughter, you're going to find out that if you are raising him as a member of a community, not as an individual, you should be testing your son or daughter that what kind of a community servant is he, and what kind of a test that you can actually design to see whether he's failing or passing on that test. It's very simple. Okay? So and he should be a missionary here. And he better understand that, he's a nobody alone and he's everybody combined. So these are the sort of, and plus I'm talking about, let's go through the first hour of this, of what kind of problem he's going to solve. He better be a thinker. He better be thinking, because if he's got the sense of community, naturally he's going to be thinking about the solutions of the problems of the community. Because if he's not a member of the community, he's going to be thinking about problems which are his own problems, or at best case, his mommy or daddy, the family problems. And most of the Muslims are doing that right now. So make sure he's thinking about 2 billion Muslims, and initially make sure he's thinking about all the Muslims of Glasgow. First, he's going to solve the problems of Muslim community in Glasgow. Naturally, he's going to be taking that up a notch by talking about European Muslims and then the global Muslims. Only a member of the community is going to solve the problems of the world, regardless of what kind of religion he has. We cannot expect individuals, selfish, self-centered philosophies to help anybody else other than their own selves.
So I guess it's that thing of know the issues, know the problems.
No, that's whether your son knows them.
That's the underlining factor here. Know the issues and work according to that in terms of solving.
The solutions are going to come on his own.
Yeah.
But if he's not even looking for the problems, how can he even expect that he's the guy who's going to solve them? So at school, I'm talking about middle school, test your child whether he's concerned, whether he's actually looking for, what kind of, how many, kids, how many Muslim kids are there in the school, and, what kind of problems are Muslims or kids facing in general. It's the mommy's job to make the child think on certain lines. You create those lines, and he's going to follow those lines. And later on, he's going to be drawing his own lines and his own literal artwork over that canvas you're going to be setting.
Sure. And just to kind of add on to that, a question maybe is that, do you think then our expectations are quite high for our children, too high? Do we set the standard too much?
Oh my God, no, on the contrary. We have literally we are raising insects here.
Right.
We're not even raising, they're just crawling. See, unless it's global, it's not Muslim.
Okay.
At least not in this day and age. If it's not a global solution he's thinking of, he's not Muslim.
So expectations to be global.
Yeah, at least, not just global right now, in the next 100 years as well.
Yeah.
See, if you aim at the tree, it's when I was raised by the Irish, okay? Literally in school, I went into convent. It was my sister Patricia. I remember I was in grade 2 and she told me this, and I'm going to tell you right now, that she said, son, if you aim for the tree, you might not cross the tree, but if you aim for the sky, you'll definitely cross the tree. So Muslims should be thinking global, not just the current problem of the globe right now, but the problems now and the problems which are going to come in the next 2, 3, 4 generations. That's the least a Muslim has to think on. And by the way, there are a lot of non-Muslims who are already thinking on those lines and solving those problems as well. So if you're not going to do that, our kids are going to go towards those realms which are going to be very attractive.
That's one of the things, particularly, I have a young family as well, sort of thing. So you always think about the Islam in the next 20, 30 years. What is it going to look like in Glasgow and Scotland? What's this?
Yeah. Well, you
what's
can see
what it's going to look like. It's one of those.
I got a little glimpse yesterday about what it's going to look like in 20 years. It's not looking good. Okay.
No. Let's give us some good news.
No, well, is that our kids are going to actually, inshallah, hold the fort.
Inshallah.
If you're not going to train them right now, how dare we think they're going to hold the fort?
Yeah.
And not just hold the fort, raise it, and enhance and get more people in, like literally. And make it so attractive and open that people want to be in and stay in.
True. Sir, we have to finish it there, unfortunately. But Jazakallah khair, thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Really appreciate your time here in Glasgow, and we hope for the rest of the journey. I know you're going down to London after this.
Yeah, right now. Yeah,
tonight, in fact, tomorrow morning. So it's no rest for the wicked.
No, this is not. Yeah,
but this is normal. But inshallah, in your travels, remember us on your du'as, inshallah.
You too, inshallah.
All safe, inshallah, all well, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Barakallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for watching, everyone, inshallah, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.